20 minutes past the hour. Welcome back. Thom Hartmann here with you. Speaking the truth, the multinational corporations would really rather you didn't know. And actually, speaking of and to that point, Ekasian, if I'm pronouncing it right, put together just an absolutely brilliant blog yesterday morning, in fact, over at the Daily Kos. And making the point that, Reince Priebus is going off on the liberal media. And I think this is just absolutely fascinating. Ekasian says, if we had a liberal media in the United States, there are some things that would just be public knowledge, standard information. So, everybody knows about, Whitewater? Or everybody knows about Anthony Weiner? It's sad but true. Bob Filner. But if there was a liberal media, wouldn't there be a certain baseline of information that everybody would know? And these are the really serious things that you would think people would know. For example, 2000 was the last year in the United States that transnational corporations actually had positive hiring numbers in the United States. Now, it's real interesting. There's a Living Wage Now has a post over Democratic Underground where he talks about the NAFTA and how Bill Clinton is so blamed for NAFTA. And largely takes the blame for it. He says, however, Bush's policies of giving major tax incentives to corporations to outsource is what really gave outsourcing its fangs. Following the Bush tax cuts of 2001, American manufacturing in our factories shut down and outsourced millions of jobs to China, India, etc. And there's a graphic here from the Wall Street Journal, of all places, that shows that starting in 2001, sure enough, transnational corporations, the big companies in America, in 2001, they created, shall we say, about 250,000 jobs outside the United States. In 2002, about 1 million jobs outside the United States. In 2003, about 2 million jobs outside the United States. 2004, a little less than 2 million. 2005, about 1.5 million. 2006, about 1.5 million. 2007, they created about 1.5 million jobs outside the United States. 2008, back up to 2 million. And in 2009, they created 3 million jobs outside the United States. Now, during that same period of time, they were moving jobs out of the United States. Actually, those numbers I just read you were all the numbers of the jobs that vanished in the United States from these corporations. They pretty much correlate, though, with the number of jobs that were created outside the United States by the same corporations. So it's just these two numbers just diverge. So number one, if we genuinely had a liberal media, everybody in America would know that for the last decade, the last 15 years, ever since the big Bush tax cuts, the transnational corporations, the job creators, have been creating jobs outside the United States, but they haven't created a single damn job inside the United States. In fact, they've shut down millions of them. Another thing that everybody would know if we had a liberal media in the United States is that if you were to look at a map of the United States and break it down according to who owns what wealth, you would see that basically everything west of the Mississippi River is owned by the top 1%. Everything east of the Mississippi River and north of the Mason-Dixon line would be the top 9%. So basically the entire northern United States, and not just, this is actually below the Mason-Dixon line. About a third of America would own the southern states. 20% of the United States would own half of Texas. And 40% of us would own this little red dot. It's about the size of Houston, I guess. In other words, the poor are really poor and own virtually nothing, and the rich are really rich and own pretty much everything. You'd know about the American Legislative Exchange Council if we actually had a liberal media in the United States. I guess I'm qualifying as that because we just told you about it. But, the stand your ground laws, the stand your ground shoot first laws, the voter suppression ID laws, the right to work for less laws, the privatizing schools laws, the health savings account bills, the tobacco industry supportive legislation, all these things. If we had a liberal media in the United States, you'd know about the number of people in prison. And there's a graph of this, and it's truly startling, from 1920 to 2006. From 1920 until the Reagan presidency, the number of people in prison in the United States is under 400,000, and it just kind of steadily moves along nice and slow. And then starting with the Reagan presidency until today, it just explodes. You go from 400,000 when Reagan became president to 1 million when Reagan left office, to 1.5 million by the middle of the Clinton presidency, to 2 million when George Bush came into office, to 2.5 million when George Bush left office. It's mind-boggling. If we really had a liberal media in the United States, you would know that 62% of people arrested in the United States, 69.2% of people arrested in the United States are white, but 39% of our prison population is black. Now, there's got to be something wrong with those numbers. You would also know that our healthcare costs in the United States are the highest in the world at $8,200 a person. Norway is second highest at $5,300 a person. You'd think we'd know. But most Americans don't. They don't know any of these things.